That tells me that? Like it. Were you here yesterday? Yeah. Excellent, good. I want to say first of all thank you for observing the silence earlier. And really, what can I say about the first act on the main stage today? I mean, Drum Hero doesn't really cut it. This man is responsible for some of the most brilliant, creative, exciting rock drum tracks of recent times, combining finesse, jazz school chops and power with the brilliant Smashing Pumpkins, and also dropping jaws with his own Jimmy Chamberlin complex. Give it up, please. Make some noise for the one, the only Jimmy Chamberlin.
Thank you. It's great to be here and great to see everybody. So, a couple things. Oops, that wasn't me. Hope everybody had a good morning. Are we all right? I'm a little jet lagged, but ready to rock. It's great to be here, like I said. Was anybody at the Education Zone yesterday? Yeah, so, oh good, so there's lots of different people. So, I'm going to do some playing, play a couple songs from my first solo record, and then do some pumpkin stuff. But I think for me, when I come to these things and I think about what I can offer to both drummers and musicians and just people that are interested, is just kind of my vantage point on kind of how I've gotten to where I've gotten. Which may or may not be interesting to you, but it's interesting to me, so I like to talk about it. So first off, I'm just going to play a couple songs, and then, as I said yesterday, the way I like to approach this stuff is that I don't really have a formula. I don't do a lot of clinics. This is the only one I'll do this year, besides for yesterday. So I like to keep it loose. I like to keep it like kind of like a jazz improv concert where I just kind of write down a few things that are either I think are important or topical that can help or serve us in some way, and then spread some wisdom that way as well as some music. So first, let's play some music, and then we'll get into some of it and I'll play some music again. Okay. That wasn't up here before, right? Okay, we just need to sort out a little bit of sound thing here. This is why I play the drums, right? Because there's no wires attached to them. So, right? Wires are always a pain, which is why I had a studio at my house for many years until I figured out that I stopped being a drummer at some point and became a studio tech, right? I spent so much time chasing down buzzes and wires and other things that I spent very little time playing my drums. So lately, just about 6 months ago, I completely dismantled everything in my studio except for my drum set. And now when I go down there, it's back to the way it should be. It's my church of music that I can only play drums and nothing else, other than maybe have a coffee. And escape from the noise of my two kids upstairs. Are we good?
Any pads on the DI, any grinders, anything like that? Should all be off. Still there.
Yeah, it's not in the laptop. Yeah, we'll do that. Yeah. Oh yeah. Is it coming through the speakers too?
Yeah. Yeah, it's just the laptop. It's just that one DI going direct to me.
Oh yeah.
Still there. Check the DI sound, stereo DI. Yeah, it's just really noisy now for some reason.
We'll get it sorted out. So, yesterday I was talking a little bit about identity and kind of what makes one drummer different from another, what makes one person different from another. You know, when you come to these things, especially in drummer world, you know, we tend to, even at this level, sometimes feel like we're in some type of contest, right? Like there's who's got the best chops, who's got the best single stroke roll, who's got this and that, who can do, you know, some type of drum acrobatic. But if you're in the game for long enough, what you find is that it's really the inconsistencies and the individuality that give you your value in the music industry, right? And those people that have found the courage to kind of celebrate what's different and unique about themselves have really found a home in the entertainment industry far beyond the people that can play just really well, right? So one thing I like to stress to young drummers or any musician for that matter is that, you know, in this world of kind of narcissism and homogenization where everybody is learning by visualization or looking at YouTube and understand, you know, there's a lot of information as far as the kind of what and how when it comes to drumming. Like we can all look at YouTube and learn with some degree of success, you know, what Steve Gadd was doing or some of these other kind of chops guys. But really what I'm concerned with when I get into playing music is more of the why we're making those choices and why you know, we're putting things together. You know, when we start to just string things together that we've learned, that becomes kind of replication. But when we figure out why we're making those choices and we figure out how to make music with the things we've learned, that becomes creation, right? And that's what we're kind of into right now. We want to be in a creative space, not in a reactive space or in a space of replication. So when we go through and learning, you know, early rudiments and things like that, we don't want to lose sight of the things that make us different, right? We don't want to run from those things. We've all been given the gift of individuality. We've all been given a unique mind, a unique way of looking at things. And the more we can kind of channel that into our playing, the more we become irreplaceable, the more we become indispensable, the more we become somebody who carries their self-value into a room. You know, I think, again, in this world where young people are exposed to tons of comparison, how many likes they have on Facebook, how many followers they have on Instagram, how many followers they have on Twitter, there becomes a real propensity to have this kind of outside quantification when we as drummers and as musicians, our job is to create emotion, right? So when I talk about practicing and other things, I'm telling kids, look, like the reason we want to practice our rudiments and the reason we want to develop our facility on the drum set is only as a mechanism to get what's here in our heart out into the canvas of our instrument and in a way that makes people feel something. Anything beyond that, as far as I'm concerned, goes out of the realms of creating music and becomes kind of more of a circus act or, you know, some type of you know, demonstration of abilities rather than painting in real time. So for me, that's really what this whole exercise is about. It's not as if it was a contest we'd all have lost, right? I mean, we've got Aaron Spears back there, who's an incredible drummer. I mean, but the fact, like, all the guys that are here that have gotten to this level have learned that they carry something that's truly unique to themselves, that has an incredible amount of value, and when they channel their individuality onto their instrument, they become something that's truly unique in this world, right? And that's something that we can all do no matter what our skill level is. We can channel ourselves, we can bring that unique vantage point to our instrument, and we immediately separate ourselves from everybody else, no matter what our level of facility is. So, does that make sense to everybody? I think there's a lot of, especially these things, right? I mean, you go out in that hall, and it's like, holy hell, man. There's like, what is that sound, right? I mean, 1,000 drummers, if you think like 1,000 drummers can't be wrong, it's like, whoa, there's something really wrong about that hurricane of sound going on out there. It's like the world's largest guitar center, with everybody trying to play as fast and as loud as they can at the same time. But again, the idea is to create dynamics through our personality. Are we ready? No? He's not instilling confidence. Yeah.
Just unplug the blue DI so I can check the flow.
It was working a minute ago.
Yeah. You muted it? Yep. Right, that's gone, so my end's clean.
Do you have a spare DI?
Yeah, there's two. Go grab two. You'll have to use two mono ones.
Okay. So just one more thing, and then we'll just get into the playing, whether it's buzzing or not, right? So I did an interview about 2 weeks ago, and the guy kept asking me about the Pumpkins, right? Are the Pumpkins going to record? Blah blah blah. Maybe. I told him my best answer is we're talking about it, right? Which is again. And then somebody else asked me, well, what's it like? And I said, you don't understand. Like, we're all in our 50s now. It's like Grumpy Old Men 3 with one woman. So that's kind of where the dialogue starts. But another interesting thing that he said that got me thinking, because he was talking about Melancholy and that record, and he was saying, do you ever think you can do another record like Melancholy? And I was saying, I honestly don't. And he said, well, why? Do you think you guys just don't play like that? And I said, well, it's twofold, right? There's a couple big reasons. Well, one, I don't really make those choices like that anymore. I don't play like that anymore. I can play like that anymore, but that's really kind of me going out and mining the past and not really being in present time, which is not really where I want to live as an artist. But secondarily, there was one thing in 1995 that we didn't have, which was a cell phone. So, in 1995 when we were making that record, when we would get to our studio at noon and we would work till midnight, we would work for 12 hours. And we would work undisrupted with extreme amounts of focus. And now, no matter where I'm at, and it doesn't matter what you're working on, even in Pumpkins, as soon as the music stops, everybody picks up their damn cell phone and starts to look at it, right? I mean, and I'm of the opinion that has done more to damage the creative process than anything that's been invented in the last 15 years. I think I got a rule, right? No cell phones in my studio, just because I know that, like, when it lights up or if I hear it buzzing, it's distracting, and I start to think about not what I'm doing. I'm thinking like, oh, is that an important call? Or, who's calling? Is that my wife? Blah, blah, blah. And it's extremely disruptive. I just read a study done at Northwestern University about cell phones, and they did a study of 1,000 high school level students, and they took a third of the students and allowed them to have a cell phone on their desk, and another third of the students that they allowed to have cell phones in their backpack in the hallway, and then they had a third of the students that they disallowed cell phones. And 100% of the kids that had the cell phones on the desk scored the worst. And the next tranche of test scores were the kids that had their cell phones in the backpack scored the next worst. And the kids that scored the best were the ones that had no chance of looking at their cell phone. So, you know, not to say like, hey, put your cell phone, you know, underneath your car tire and drive over it, but you might want to think about that when you're trying to create music or, you know, find your groove or get into a practice session that's meaningful. You know, try for a week or a month just not taking your phone in there and seeing how much more progress you make without that distraction. So, are we ready to rock? Okay. All right, so that's enough blathering, right? I get on to at least what I kind of know how to do. And I think that's it. So I'm just going to go ahead and storm through this thing because I think we're a little late on time. So. Thank you. Can I have a little more music in my headphones? It's weird when the music goes away, you're just like, oh wow, what's going on? Thank you so much. I did want to play some pumpkin stuff, and I got a few things together that I kind of remember. I tried to take a swing at a few of them yesterday and seemed to be okay. This is a song that was one of our biggest tunes. It's called Tonight Tonight. It's just quickly to kind of cut the talking to a minimum, but it's really it's probably the finest example of a band at its peak coming together with great ideas. It's one of the drum parts that I'm most proud of. It was born out of a lot of ideas, a lot of listening that I've done over the years. And that's really, getting back to this, how we learn drums, right? So obviously when I was a kid, many, many years ago, if you wanted to learn something by Ian Pace, great UK drummer, right? So one of my absolute favorites. The way I would figure out what Ian was doing was I would take my thumb and put it on the record and slow it way down, so it would go, and I could figure out like what kind of fill he was playing, right? There was no video. But with that, you got into kind of your own understanding of how people did stuff. And then oftentimes when you would try to replicate what they were doing, you would find out years later when you saw them do it that you were either doing it backwards or you're doing it wrong. But nevertheless, you figured it out in your own kind of way and it became kind of part of your identity. So again, to young drummers, I'd just listen, and find out what moves you, not from a visual standpoint, but from an emotive standpoint, really. And this song, Tonight, was constructed of a couple different drum things that I was interested in before I joined the Pumpkins. So when I joined the Pumpkins, I wasn't really, looking to be in a rock band. I was kind of still Tony Williams devotee. In fact, I had a Banana Yellow Gretsch kit when I auditioned, and much to the chagrin of the band, they were not into that shit. But in the same way, I wasn't into turtlenecks and medallions either. So it was a quid pro quo, as we say, but it ended up working out. But one of my favorite songs has always been that first or second or third Weather Report record, Heavy Weather, with Alex Cooney on drums, and there's a song Birdland on there that's got a really cool open clave side stick with an open hi-hat. And when I heard Tonight, I was like, oh, that's a great opportunity for me to play some Weather Report and get away with it. And then the kind of more orchestral part was taken from, man, I'm out of breath. I'm getting old. I used to be able to do this stuff in my sleep. The more orchestral part was taken from an old Gino Vanelli record called Just to the Gemini, and there's a thing called a War Suite on there with this great drummer, Graham Lear, who plays this incredible drum composition through the song. And it wasn't so much the part that I was looking for, but it was the feeling of the part. It was this very kind of militant, majestic, very kind of opinionated drum piece, if you will. And I was looking for like a way to emote that feeling in the song. And I don't know if I copped it 100%, but again, like getting back into the kind of why we do stuff, I wasn't really looking for a straight rip of the parts. I was looking for the emotional component of what they were doing and how it would insert itself into this song and would lend itself to the kind of majesty of the songwriting. Because when Corrigan would deliver a song like this, obviously he's an A-level songwriter. He would bring a song like this. I always felt like it was my job to be accountable to the narrative of the song, and really getting back to the way the Pumpkins recorded, there was an accountability on the drums, and I always had lyrics in front of me, so I knew what the songs were talking about, which I think is important for young drummers as well, to really be supportive of the narrative of the song, not to be confused with supporting an artist, because drummers are just as much artists as anybody else, right? If not more so, because we got more gear to carry around. Unless you're like a B3 player, I guess. But yeah, so accountability to drum parts is another thing that I'm always on about. Like, The drum part, when you hear a drum part for a song, do you know what song it's from? Do you know what drummer is playing? I mean, that's something we should keep front and center when we go and express ourselves and we construct these parts, that we're not just playing a beat along with somebody's song because the beat fits. We want to play a beat that's meaningful and that supports the narrative. So, again, without too much bloviating, I'll try and wing this one. Thank you. Oh, we ran out of time. Okay. I wanted to do a Q&A because it's so fun, but I want to play one more song first because I had a bunch of different song choices, but because of time. So I wanted to roll out Geek U.S.A. because I know a lot of people have been asking for it. And then I just want to take like 5, and I just love hearing what people are on about because it's really informative for me. So in a selfish way, I want to do this and maybe open it up to some questions if we got a few minutes, okay? Sound good? Yeah. I know you have questions. I know you have questions, right? That's still hard to play. For me. Maybe not so much for some other people. In fact, people always send me YouTubes of them playing that song. So I always get a kick out of something like, that's kind of wrong. But again, I mean, the thing about it is, there's no wrong way to play it, right? It's just the more you can express yourself within the context of that framework, the more you're doing things right. The more you try to do it like I do it, the more you're trying to do things wrong, right? Because it's like, there's things in there that are kind of messed up. And again, you know, when people say like, what would punk is, you know, like when we made the Zeitgeist album, I had been doing my complex stuff and I've been playing a lot of kind of fusion and a little bit straight ahead stuff. And it was just hard to go back and insert myself into that mechanism of creation, right? And go like, damn, like how do I make a pumpkin record? It's like all this stuff on the hi-hat, I wasn't doing a lot of that anymore. And I had to really go back and listen to like Machina and see like what was the wisdom behind those choices, if there was any, and you know, how do I kind of replicate that again, which got really frustrating making that record both for Billy and I, because we weren't really doing what we do. We were kind of going back and trying to be what we were as opposed to what we had become, right? And we had a talk the other day and we both, you know, vehemently agreed to live in present time should we record again and really just take it from where we're at that point and do what we do best, which is just create in the moment and not get into this like, hey, what does a pumpkin record have to sound like? Because back then, a pumpkin record, you sound like anything. I mean, some of those songs had brushes on them, there was 6/8 brush stuff, there was mallet stuff. It's like we never thought about what genre we were in or what box we were gonna fit in, you know, much to the chagrin of the record companies. In fact, we never even let the record company in the studio. And it was by choice, but there was a time where Mark Williams, our A&R guy from Virgin, came to see us record in Atlanta when we were doing Siamese Dream, and he made the mistake of walking into James and Darcy's apartment, and James' dog attacked him. So Bug Superstar, that dog that's on the cover of one of the records on the inside cover, that dog was a vicious, biting mongrel, and it was a big, 90-pound husky, and it attacked Mark, ripped his clothes off, and that was the last we ever saw of our A&R guys in the studio, which ended up being a great thing because we were kind of left to our own devices. But anyway, got a couple minutes. Does anybody have a burning question that they need to get answered? Yes, sir.
Pumpkins are the artists of my life. You inspire me every day. Your music just flows through my veins and informs all of my creative choices, and I adore you. Fuck the Pumpkins. When are you bringing the Complex to London?
Yeah, so Complex has a new record coming out in 2 weeks. And if I had another hour, I would play you some of the stuff, but it's coming out on the 17th. It's called The Parable. It's a little bit more straight ahead. So we reconceptualized the band with Billy Muller on upright bass, because Billy's been doing a lot of upright stuff. I don't know if you know a little bit about Billy, but Billy was in the Thelonious Monk Institute out of Berkeley. He played upright bass with Herbie Hancock, and he's just a really legit upright player. So rather than get into kind of fuzz bass and all that stuff that we had already done, we thought we would do like a proper upright record. So we've got Billy Muller on upright bass, Randy Ingram, a great kind of Bill Evans type piano player from New York on piano, Sean Wollstone-Hume again on guitar, who's amazing, and Chris Speed, who's just amazing, like Dexter Gordon type tenor player. And the music was actually written over text message. All of us were just sending snippets of song ideas together, and then we got into Sunset Studio about a month and a half ago, and we recorded the record in 1 day. So the tracks that you hear on the record are either the first or second attempt at us playing them. So it's again,